I have to tell you a story that you folks might not believe, especially if you have young kids. When my son was 6, he had a mail-order cookie business. Sammy used to stand on a chair by the stove, and we'd watch him closely. And he'd make his cookies, and let them cool, and at night we'd box them up, and the next day, on the way to school, we'd take them to the post office and mail them. Well, he got written up in the Portland Press-Herald. Exactly. You know where this is going, right?
Yeah.
This you won't believe, Meredith. So this is maybe, I don't know, a month into it. And I get a phone call from somebody who said, I'm looking for the owner of Sam's Cookie Shop.
He's in school.
It actually was after school. And I didn't know where this was going. I said, well, let me put him on. So I give him, Sam's 6 years old. So I give Sammy, and it's these, deer in the headlights and this, and I said, Sammy, let me take that, son. I get it back. I said, what can I do for you? He said, well, you need a license to run this business. And we need to inspect and so forth. I said, sir, who do you work for? And I said, my son is 6. And if you would like to come and take a look at our operation, you're welcome to. But I'm his father. And I can assure you that things are on the up and up here. So we made an appointment. The next day he comes over. And he inspects everything. And then one thing led to another. Now I'm filling out paperwork. Now I have an accountant doing it because I can't figure it out. I meant a few more weeks, he's making $20 a week, and I'm paying $40 a week to make this all work. So he finally decided to shut down his business. Had he not run, the state would have shut him down. But it gets more serious than that. I have one of the businesses I run is a housing construction firm down in the mid-coast area, down in Phippsburg and Bath. We have a terrific project down there. I negotiated with 4 state agencies and 3 at the local level for 2.5 years before I could proceed. 2.5 years before I could hire one person, Joe. 2.5 years.
Should have done.
What's that again?
Should have called you.
Well, it was someone who wasn't terribly receptive to business formation. But businesses are not the enemy. They employ our workers. We need to have someone in the Blaine House who understands that our businesses help our citizens provide for their families. And we should do everything humanly possible to help our businesses thrive, not get in their way. Maine is such a complicated and expensive place to do business in. Folks come up here and they say, what a great place to bring up kids. Safe, great natural environment. I can't make it here. And so they don't set up shop, they don't invest, jobs aren't created, and our kids leave. And we wonder what the problem is. So, as Governor, Jim, what we can do is something that doesn't cost us anything, Bruce.
Exactly.
Doesn't cost a nickel. We can look at every one of our small business and larger business regulations and reduce or eliminate those that are complicated and confusing and overlap so we can make it easy. It's not hard to do if you come from the private sector. If you're a bureaucrat, you just haven't had that experience. As governor, if we have an opportunity and we're approached by someone to invest in this state and create a nuclear power plant or build one, I'm all for it. Absolutely. 2 of them, 2 nuclear power plants, and we have our energy needs in this state set for a very long period of time. But let's be practical. You know what the solution is short term? Canada. We need to, number one, and I will do this as governor, lead the effort to repair and to upgrade our electric power grid so we can distribute electricity across the state. We can't do that now because it's so old and it can't handle the capacity. The Canadians are generating electric power for about 25% of what we're paying for it. A quarter of what we're paying for it. And our power is 50% higher than the national averages. If we can import that cheap, green, renewable energy from Canada, it'll lower the cost of energy in the state, which will help our families and our businesses. This is the silly season. And there's been a misconception about my position on the Second Amendment. I am a very strong supporter of the Second Amendment. I always have been. I'm going to put this very clear. We do not need any new gun laws, period. As governor, I will veto any further restrictions that are attempted to put on our Second Amendment rights. Now, what I do support is the law on the books today, which is what the NRA supports, which is a mandatory background check on any firearm purchased at a licensed dealer. Beyond that, if you want to purchase a gun, if I want to purchase one from you, Jim, or you personally, don't need a background check. You're not for sale, okay. Or at a gun show or what have you, or Uncle Henry's.
Lots of ammunition.
No new gun laws, period. My son Sam was homeschooled for a while.
Good.
I'm a huge believer in it. If it works for the child, remember, this education is not about us, it's about the kids. I believe in charter schools, I believe in school choice, I believe in parochial schools, I believe in homeschool, I believe in giving these kids what they need. Here's one of the things that drives me nuts, is that Maine is one of 10 states in the country, you know where I'm going with this, Bruce, don't you? 10 states in the country that does not allow publicly funded charter schools. That means there are 40 other states where our kids have more benefits than we do here. A publicly funded charter school is an extension of public schools. You can be more innovative in how you determine what you're going to teach the kids, what the curriculum is, how you pay the teachers, who you attract to teach them. They're operated more inexpensively than our public schools. It's a no-brainer. But Joe actually put his finger on the central part of my economic plan. A lot of the other candidates on both sides are talking about, well, shifting money from this program or another. Some are suggesting borrowing more. We addressed that a minute ago, Ron. Some folks are even suggesting spending more money. The central part of my plan is to get a handle on spending. Everything starts with spending. Once we can learn how to be one of those states that spends only what we take in, just like we families have to do and businesses have to do, then we can get at taxes and lower taxes in a meaningful way to give incentives for folks to invest here and create jobs, help our families. But it starts, Joe, with spending. We need to get spending under control. That means reducing the size of government. Absolutely. There is no silver bullet that's going to save our state. There is no big idea that we can spend an enormous amount of time on or money on that's going to save us. Maine is like a football team that cannot block and tackle. But every year, we throw a fiscal Hail Mary trying to balance our budget. I am proposing something to the voters of Maine that hasn't been done in a generation in this state. It's getting back to basics, because basics work. Number one, we need a new attitude in the Blaine House, that businesses are not the enemy. They employ our people. That is number one, Bruce. Second of all, get at spending. There is no other candidate who fundamentally says nothing works until step one, which is reducing spending such that we only spend what we take in. That is absolutely fundamental. And this is something I've been doing for 30 years in the private sector. After we do that, Bruce, then it's lower taxes. And we can afford to lower taxes, which will create incentives for businesses to come here and create jobs. And the fourth thing doesn't cost us a nickel. That simplify our business regulations. Doesn't cost us anything. Make it easier, less complicated to do business here. If it were something we could do in 6 months, someone would have already done it. We can't. But we need someone who understands that to the core, who has done that to the core, who will implement that strategy. And I will.